Earphones are generally utilitarian for me. I use them as a last resort, and sound quality isn't even at the top of my priority list when I'm choosing a set. I'm looking for ease of use, fit, and build quality. If they sound good, that's just a bonus. In today's real-world review, I'm going to take a look at the Monoprice True Wireless Active Noise Cancelling Earphones. Yes, that's actually their name. Over the years, the nature of how my days are spent has meant that earphones don't play a major role in my life. Unfortunately, as a video producer, I'm not always able to pop in earbuds at my desk and tune out the world around me as much as I may like to sometimes. When I do need to lock in on the sound of a shoot or an edit, I have a trusty pair of Sony over-the-ear headphones that I've had since the mid-90s. These things have been my go-to cans for over half my life. I use earphones when I'm flying, when I'm running, or when I'm on the bus, and that's pretty much it. For many years, I used my wired, custom-molded in-ear monitors for flying and for the bus, and nothing at all while I was running. But after many years of use, the in-ears finally died, and I was in the market for something new. Now, at this point, as I'm in a very Apple-centric environment, I decided to go with the original Apple AirPods, and I hated them. They constantly fell out of my ears, they hurt when they stayed in, and they didn't sound good regardless. But thinking that Apple would be the best to pair with my iPhone, I upgraded to the original AirPods Pro when those were first released, and they were an improvement. Still not great, but the integration with Siri and my Apple Watch while I was running was worth it. Or so I thought. When Monoprice recently reached out and asked if I wanted to give their Horizon True Wireless Active Noise Cancelling Earphones a try, it was a perfect opportunity just to see how much I'd be sacrificing if I stepped outside of the Apple ecosystem for my earphones. The Monoprice earphones should theoretically pale in comparison to the AirPods Pro. I mean, they cost less than a quarter of the AirPods Pro's price tag, but when you look at the spec sheet, even with that price difference, they match up pretty evenly. So I thought this would be an interesting experiment. The Horizon True Wireless ANC earphones are rated for a 6-hour battery life, 30 hours total with their recharging case. They've got Bluetooth 5.2, IPv4 moisture resistance, and they have active noise cancellation. And as of this filming, they're priced at $55 compared to $240 for the AirPods Pro. They're even priced lower than the standard Apple AirPods, which don't have any noise cancellation or custom fit options. Taking them out of the box, the build quality was immediately evident, as in much lower quality than the AirPods Pro. The charging case felt cheap and hollow, and removing the earphones themselves from the case felt like more of the same. They didn't feel like a premium product. I was starting to think that this would be a very quick review process. But this is where the disappointment ended. I plugged the charging case into a USB port to get them fully charged, made a plan to test them out as I traveled to CEDIA Expo in Dallas, and I thought I'd get a few runs in and put together the review. The following day, I popped them in for a run. The last thing I want to do is fiddle around with my earphones, getting them connected when I'm ready to run. This being the first time I'd connected them to the Apple Watch, I opened up the Bluetooth settings on the watch, saw the Monoprice listed immediately, clicked pair, and they were connected. Apparently verified by a voice prompt, but the sound quality of the voice was very hard to understand. But I'm nitpicking. I put on my shoes, fired up an Apple Fitness run on my watch, and headed out, and I stopped dead in my tracks within the first few notes of Renegades by X-Ambassadors. The music coming from these earphones was crystal clear. None of the compression artifacting I commonly hear in the Fitness Plus workouts on my AirPods Pro. and the bass was much more full, a better low end, and overall sound quality was a massive improvement over the AirPods Pro. There was a much more rich sound, more elements of the music were audible. Even while I was running, these things sounded great. So I set out again on the run and began to try and figure out the noise cancellation. Typically I run with my AirPods in the transparent mode, letting some environmental sound through for awareness, but keeping it quiet to help lock me in on the music. I didn't figure it out, so I just went with whatever the default setting was. It wasn't bad, and the music sounded so good I didn't really care too much. And it wasn't until later in my run when Icky Thump by the White Stripes came on, and I realized not once had I reached up to push either of these earphones back into my ear before it fell out. These have a noticeably longer stem than the AirPods Pro and a bit bulkier body, possibly a better fit, possibly because they're lighter. I don't know, but it was really nice not worrying about one of these falling out and then stepping on it. When I got back, I downloaded the user manual to figure out the controls. The manual has several errors, but I was able to figure out what I needed to know to turn noise cancellation on and off and turn the volume up and down just on the earbuds themselves. Turns out that the active noise cancellation was on during my run, but it's only about as effective as the transparent mode in the AirPods Pro, which is fine for my use case, but it's worth noting that you will get better isolation from that noise around you with the AirPods Pro than with the Monoprice. These Monoprice earphones performed so well on my first run that the next day I didn't even consider packing my AirPods Pro for this trip to CEDIA in Dallas. I was pretty confident that I could rely on the Monoprice buds. Having already connected them to my watch and the phone, connection when you put them in was pretty much instantaneous. Faster and more hassle-free than the AirPods, which don't always work perfectly. I had downloaded a few titles to my iPhone 14 Pro before leaving, so I had something good to watch on the flight. First up, Ghostbusters Afterlife. While watching the movie, it sounded great, but I noticed dialogue could be a little hard to hear. Not unintelligible, just really quiet. The in-flight entertainment generally has the audio leveled out to decrease dynamic range, making quiet voices easier to hear. On my iPhone, this was not the case, and I noticed that while everything sounded great, the volume doesn't seem to get quite as loud as the AirPods Pro. Flipping over to a concert film by Blackberry Smoke, with a generally higher level audio mix, eliminated all those problems to the point that I didn't even need to turn the volume all the way up. Flying from Seattle to Dallas is over 5 hours in the air. On the way to Dallas, it was split about half and half, so the earphones were able to top off their charge in the charging case during my layover. On my return, however, it was a quick shot to Houston and then a 5-hour and 20-minute flight to Seattle. Factoring in airport time and downtime, this was going to be a great test for battery life, and I fully expected them to need a recharge before we landed, but they lasted the entire flight. I'm not sure how the battery readout is measured on the iPhone display, whether it's giving the charge level of the entire system or just the earphones when they're connected and in use, but when I checked about when we landed, it was still reading around 50%, which is really impressive. And to note, I've continued using these on my daily runs and I still have not needed to plug in the case yet. It's been just over 2 weeks since I last plugged them in. The AirPods Pro are nice because I can just set them down on top of my wireless MagSafe charging puck to keep them topped off. But if these will go 2 weeks or more between charges, I think I can handle plugging in a cable. Overall, these are really impressive when comparing them to those original Apple AirPods Pro. Apple did recently release an update, though it's highly doubtful they've made big enough improvements to make up an almost $200 premium on the price tag. So just to recap, in my testing, the Monoprice Horizon ANC True Wireless Earphones sound better, fit better, they're more comfortable, and they connect to my iPhone and Apple Watch with fewer hassles than my AirPods Pro. On the downside, the build quality doesn't feel quite as high-end and they don't go quite as loud. The touch controls aren't quite as intuitive. Some of the controls require using the button on the charging case, and the voice responses aren't very clear and easy to understand. And the name is terrible. But all things considered, I can't think of a single reason not to buy these over the AirPods Pro. At least give them a shot. Even in a 100% Apple ecosystem here, these outperform the AirPods Pro in every meaningful way possible for my use. Durability is still in question, so you might want to be more careful about letting them fall to the bottom of your backpack. But at this price point, there's no reason not to put a pair of these in every stocking this holiday season. Check the link in the description for more information, and while you're there, please like and subscribe to the AV Nirvana channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon with another real-world review.